Welcome to episode 13 of Euro Previews. Remember to go check out all the previews of the previous three groups, and I've done every team so far. But today's episode is on a former winner of the Euros, the Netherlands. The Dutch have underperformed the last couple editions of the Euros, but with a lot of star names from Van Dijk to Xavi Simons to Koeman and Frenkie de Jong. But what about the manager Ronald Koeman? Can he piece it together and have a good performance at this Euros? Get your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know your starting 11 for the Dutch at this Euros. How far do you think they will go? And further ado, let's get into the preview of the Netherlands at this Euros. The history of the Dutch in Euros isn't the greatest. They have one title, just the one. But hey, at least it's more than England. But Netherlands have, I would feel, underperformed. They should have done better in 2008. The way they destroyed that group in 2008, how they lost to Russia, still baffles me. It will forever baffle me. But you know, Arshavin and all those guys were balling out that day. 2012, disaster. Round of 16, embarrassment against Czech Republic. Last Euros, World Cups, they didn't qualify. 2018, of course. You know, they had that crazy WWE cage match against Argentina in the quarterfinals. So I feel sometimes they've gotten unlucky, but also they've underperformed massively. And I think it's more evident in the Euros. You should be doing better. With the quality that the Netherlands have had in the last couple of decades, I expect at least one title. One title at least. With the Robins, with the Van Persies, and I can go on and on. You didn't win then. Now it's like a new generation is emerging, and there's still some quality players like around 30 years old. I don't know what the expectations are for the Dutch at this Euros. Is it to make it to a semis, a final? Based on paper, when you look at the team on paper, you're like, how is this team not performing at the level they should be? Because we're going to talk about the games soon that they've had recently. If you look on paper, you're like, semifinals. Minimum. I feel like this team is a quarterfinal, semifinal team in a sense that we've seen in the last couple editions, and obviously they don't really have an identity right now. That's the thing that I think the Dutch are missing with the national team. They don't have an identity. Once they can develop that, then they can have higher expectation. Because if you look at their results in Euro qualifiers, okay, look, they should be beating Greece. They should be beating Ireland. They made it very difficult for themselves. I mean, Gibraltar, do you want me to put some fishermen in the same bracket as the Dutch? Come on now. They did give some tough games to France. Obviously, Mbappe was ridiculous that day in Amsterdam where he scored that ridiculous goal. Germany game, I thought it was horrendous, that friendly. I honestly, yes, Depay had some good chances, but defensively, again, this team are lacking so much organization. And then when they go up against the top teams like a Croatia, Italy, France, Germany, they take an L. They cannot beat the top teams in Europe right now, especially in that Nations League. We saw what happened in that Nations League. They could not defend at all. Yeah, they can score the goals. They have a lot of good players. Noah Lang was really good in that Nations League, I thought. Obviously, Donny Malen, Bergwijn, but the inability to defend is actually startling compared to what they have on paper. So if I look at these results in Euro qualifiers, I didn't see an identity with this team. They would go 4-3-3, 4-3-1-2, 4-2-3-1, 3-5-2, 3-4-3. Ronald Koeman is just trying to find the perfect formula, and instead he's, I don't know, instead of having H2O, he's having H1O or H6O. Ronald Koeman's got to find a perfect formation and tactics for this team, because there is a lot of quality players. We're going to break it down soon. There is quality on this team, but they still, I don't think, have an identity. Let's take, for example, Hungary. Hungary have an identity. And they flourish so well. Every player knows their role. They play fantastic together. Then when I watch the Dutch, I'm like, what are you guys trying to do here? You play good one game, lacklustre the next game. You need a late penalty against Greece. Come on now. So I think that's the biggest issue with this team. Defensively and a lack of identity. Maybe it comes down to this guy right here, Ronald Koeman, who in his return to manage the Netherlands national team, 12 games, 7 wins, 5 draws. 26 goals scored, 16 conceded. 16. Compared to what he was before he took the Barcelona job, when he was the Netherlands national team manager, it was 20 games, 11 wins, 5 draws, 4 losses. They only conceded 18 goals. And they're almost already at that. And they played 8 less games. I don't really rate the manager highly, if I'm going to be honest. He should have just stayed. He actually was building something quite good before he took the Barcelona job. Obviously, in Barcelona, and he's a Barcelona legend, he cannot deny it. He had to take the job. But I feel like maybe his confidence as a manager went down at Barcelona because, you know, it's such a high-pressure job. You're managing Messi. There's all these eyeballs on you that if you don't get it right, you're going to get crucified. And I think that sort of took down his confidence a lot. So Ronald Koeman, now he's just been trying a bunch of different tactics, a bunch of different formations, and he still has no solution. Zero solutions. So what I need to see from him, and I think a lot of Dutch people want to see from him this summer, is stick to one sort style of play. Look at Julian Nagelsmann. Julian Nagelsmann came immediately into the German job and had his footprint on it. He knew exactly what players he wanted to call up, how to play, line up, everything. That's how you manage a national team. Ronald Koeman, obviously, they've had a lot of injuries. Frankie de Jong and all these sort of guys. Now, obviously, Hartmann, who was really good in Euro qualifiers, is injured. So, yeah, it can affect the style of play, but you got to build some continuity. In national team, you don't have time. You have 2 weeks, that's it. Then the players go back to club level. So, Ronald Koeman, I feel like if this goes bad this Euros, like, let's say in the crazy world, the Dutch go out in the group stage, I mean, do you sack him? Or do you just say, hey, you know what? We're going to stick with you. Main goal is we got to build an identity. And maybe that's what his case will be. I haven't had the players I wanted because they're injured and I have to try all these formations. But Ronald Koeman needs to take some slack as well. It hasn't been good enough since he's returned to the job. So this is now the provisional squad for the Euros. Now, when you look at this team on paper, you look at Ake, you look at Memphis Depay, Van Dijk, Frimpong, Gakpo, Frankie de Jong, Koopmeiners, De Ligt, Madsen, Donny Malen, Reinders, Xavi Simons, Mickey van der Veen. On paper, this team actually has so much quality. It's actually crazy. Yes, the one thing you realize with this team is they don't have a striker. Okay, you can say Wout Weghorst or somebody like that. Let's be real here. Come on, people. Let's be real. Wout Weghorst can be a good super sub like he was at the World Cup, like what he did against Argentina. My biggest issue with this team, they have quality in the midfield, they have quality in defense, but when you watch this team play, they have no concept of defending. Whether it's in transition, whether it's in a low block, they're conceding 4 to Croatia, 3 to Italy, I think another 4 to France. So you would look at them on paper and you're like, you have Ake, Man City, Van Dijk, Liverpool, De Ligt, Bayern, and I think De Ligt this season has actually been really good. Why can you not build chemistry and actually defend like a unit? Because if I said those 3 center backs, you're like, they could concede 1 goal in 3 games for how good they are. But instead, they're conceding 1 goal each half. And then you have Frimpong, who can be on the right side, and Madsen, who's been balling out with Dortmund since he moved there. I'm like, that sounds perfect to me. Then you obviously have a good midfield, and there's a lot of different combinations you can have with the midfield, and I'm going to show you my midfield combination that I would think you should roll with if you're Ronald Koeman. The only problem is the forward line doesn't have enough firepower. The lack of firepower, yes, they have scored a lot of goals against Greece and Ireland, but when you're going to go up against a Germany, a France, a England, Spain, a Portugal, you need to have full artillery, light machine guns, bazookas, and I don't think the Dutch have that. They have grenades, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Is the lack of a true striker? This country has produced Van Persie, Van Basten, ballers of strikers. Where is that guy? Where is he? Yes, Memphis Depay has actually done well, I think, for the Netherlands when he has played, but he's not going to be a guy who you say, yep, he's going to score us all the goals. No, he's not like that. Cody Gakpo's not like that. Neither is Donny Malen. They can get you a goal every 2-3 games, but who can be that main guy in crunch time? Well, I think with the provisional squad, it is good. And now let's get to tactics. So, this is the issue with this national team. I mean, these are 2 formations they have played recently in Euro qualifiers and friendlies. 4-3-3, 3-4-1-2, then they've played 3-4-3. I've seen a 4-2-3-1. That's the issue. There's no identity. And yes, it can be because of players injured and that sort of stuff. They played Frimpong at right back. They played Dumfries at right wing back. Daley Blind at left wing back. I'm not too mad at like Blind or Wijnaldum being included in the squad. I think you need experience. You need some experience in the team. But the biggest issue is, what should be the 3 midfielders? And what formation would you go with? That's going to be the key issue. So here's what I would go with, right? Now, I need to exclude somebody here. Who do you go with in goal? Do you have Flekken or Verbruggen? Both I feel like have been good and also really bad this season in the Premier League. Obviously Verbruggen from Brighton and Flekken from Brentford. Verbruggen, I thought he had played a good game against Germany in the friendlies. Quite decent on the ball. I would maybe kind of start him. He's a good shot stopper. You can go with him. I would go with this formation. I would go with a 3-4-1-2 formation. And I would have Van Dijk, the central center back, Nathan Ake, and on the right side, I would have De Ligt. You can even put Gertrude there. I think Gertrude, he's a very versatile player, very comfortable on the ball. He could even play on the right center back, but I would go with De Ligt. Yes, De Ligt had a red card in the last Euros, but De Ligt, I think, has actually played really well for Bayern, and I think he deserves to start. The two wing backs, not Dumfries. Please, please. Stop with this experiment of Dumfries. Yes, he can perform well for the Netherlands. Come on. Look at the way Frimpong has been playing this season for Bayer Leverkusen. And in that position. Exactly that position. So start Frimpong. Gives you another versatile attacker as well, because he's very dynamic and makes those late runs into the box. I would start Frimpong over Dumfries. And yes, you would have to start Madsen. Not... Blind is an experienced player. Had a very good career. He actually played really well with Girona this season as a center back. Keyword, as a center back, not a left wing back. So go with Madsen, because the guy also is a good threat going forward. But the key issue is who's going to play in the midfield. I would go with Frenkie de Jong. I mean, if he's fit, that's the biggest issue with this guy. He cannot stay fit. No consistency. And the lack of a sort of true DM, even though I think Mats Wiefer, he's a very good player, and I think he can play in that DM role. So if they go with a 4-3-3, then I would go with Wiefer, Koopmeiners, and Frenkie de Jong. That's what I would go with. If it's a 3 in the back formation, don't really have to have a natural DM. You can have a Frenkie de Jong, you can have a Koopmeiners. We saw what Koopmeiners did in that Europa League final. Fantastic performance. All over the field. Pressing was fantastic. Can play DM, rotating positions with Ederson. Koopmeiners, I think he should be starting. You see how he's balling out with Atalanta? You cannot bench that. You cannot. Goal scoring threat. Now, do you go with Reinders or Xavi Simons? And I would go with Xavi Simons. I would. Reinders is a good option as well. That's the thing. Any combination is cool, and that's why I want to hear your lineups in the comments down below. Any of these midfielders I think are very good. I just would go with Xavi Simons. He can add that sort of dynamic attack. He can carry with the ball. Very good link-up play. You see those little one-touches he does with Benjamin Šeško or Lois Openda with Leipzig. I think you got to start Xavi Simons in that 10 role. So you have then Koopmeiners, Frenkie de Jong, and then Xavi Simons in the 10 role. And then up front, I would go exactly like that, Gakpo and Depay. Will this cook? That's the main thing. Will it cook? Or is it just going to be horrendous, salty fish? I'm just worried that even in a back three, this team concede goals. You would think like a guy like Van Dijk, who I watch every week being a Liverpool fan. I see him balling out with Liverpool. Yes, sometimes he makes a mistake and then everybody overblows it and says, oh my God, Van Disney. I think this season Van Dijk has been really good. So he should be that presence. He needs to be the leader of the national team, and he needs to perform. What we see in the Euro qualifiers, Nations League, is lackluster defending from all of them. No reading of the game. Set pieces is quite weak defensively. They have to fix up, because then we're going to talk about their group. You're going to give up chances to those teams, they will punish you. They can control a game. They have the midfielders to do that. They can play in transition. So while it is good that they are trying all of these sort of different formations and tactics and maybe playing off the ball, playing with the ball, I think this team can be comfortable in any way. The only problem I would have is, does Frimpong and Madsen... Well, I think Madsen can play in a low block, but what about Frimpong? Because Frimpong has always been this guy who wants to get forward, Can he be a liability down that right side? So now, let's get to the prediction of how far I think the Dutch will go at this Euros. It's an interesting debate. Their group is tough, because Austria are no joke, and I'm going to talk about them in my preview. These guys are no joke. That's a team that has an identity. That's a team that is well coached by Ralf Rangnick. So they are going to be no pushovers. Then you got France, who beat you twice in Euro qualifiers, and they have quality. And if you're going to defend like that again against the French, they're going to punish you. And then you have Poland. If you cannot beat Poland, this team are so bad. Watching them in Euro qualifiers, I mean, Ronald Koeman should just resign then. Not even sacked. He should just resign and never take the job again. Can the Netherlands win the group? Of course they can. They have the first game against Poland. That has to be 3 points. Then they play against France. If they could beat France, then you're like 6 points after 2 games, and then we have Austria the last game. 7 points might be enough to win this group, depending on how badly you beat Poland. But if they lose to Poland, then panic button. For me, based on quality, it's a quarterfinal, semifinal team. But with the way they're playing, it's round of 16 quarterfinal. Because if they finish third, they're going to have a tough opponent in that round of 16. Like a tough opponent, and I would be very worried about that. If they finish second, not so bad. If they finish first, maybe it opens the door for a semifinal run. Who knows? But for me, round of 16 or quarterfinal. Let me know your thoughts. How far do you think Netherlands will go at this Euros? Thank you all for watching. There is the Euro preview for the Netherlands. I want to hear your starting 11 in the comments down below. How far do you think they will go at this Euros? And also, is Ronald Koeman under pressure to perform? Remember to check out all the other previews from Group A, B, and C as we continue doing a preview for every nation at this Euros. And soon the predictions will come out in about a week and a half's time. Remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. But everybody, have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. And until next time, adios.